All right, good morning. We're back. It is 12:19 here in Boulder, Colorado. This morning we received a large shipment of Cottle. This is for fall/winter 25. We've been mostly out for quite some time. It is a staff favorite of ours. Yeah, the product really speaks for itself. So we're gonna kind of walk you through it. Timbo, tell us about how we kind of got onto Cottle and where we are with it.
It was one of those brands that, especially amongst the like real heads,
the forum heads, and
would get talked about mostly because of its pretty unusual dye techniques. Although it's wearable, I think a lot of people would talk about it being expensive. If I'm being transparent, I'm well happy to talk to W.I.P. It was this brand that was kind of lore. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I was very interested in it in that it hit on all the stuff I liked. It's small. It's independently owned. Obviously, they're not skimping on any details. There's a lot of different approaches to like maybe Japanese fashion and American fashion. And I like their approach a lot because they're taking really traditional workwear pieces, almost exclusively workwear pieces, and then putting those through the Japanese lens, which is pretty common. But for some reason, because they're using traditional Japanese techniques in dyeing and fabrication and textile, and then putting that through the other way, it comes out different than like what you'd see amongst Beams, who's taking like a different approach to reinterpreting American sportswear or something. Or someone like Real McCoy's, who's taking workwear and being like, we're doing it reproduced almost identical to how it was found. This is its own thing. It feels more Japanese than it does American workwear, but in kind of the best way. The designer, Toshi, has done a couple interesting things. One, he went to school for fashion, was involved in the denim scene in Japan for a long time. And then as he wanted to develop his own brand, did everything through vertical integration. I think the reason that term gets thrown around a lot, and the main way that it's, in my opinion, used well in fashion is when a designer or his creative team or whatever can go, we have an idea, let's try it, and then let's produce it. So in the same way, they're taking that vertical integration of working inside of their factory, designing inside of their factory, trying new things, experimenting regularly through the use of like traditional Japanese dyeing and other fabrication techniques that he would have learned, working in denim.
For sure, yeah.
The bio that we have on our website for Cottle was written by a good customer of ours who often lives in Japan and spent some time with Toshi, was able to pick his brain a little bit, understand the operation, and then wrote this great like bio piece about Cottle. So we strongly encourage you to head over to the website and check that out. And what's cool about Cottle is there's all these classic pieces that keep coming back that honestly kind of just keep getting slightly better throughout the years. But then also they're doing all this like very new experimental stuff that's getting thrown out there like lightning fast because of how quickly and agile they are as a company. So I think that's what makes them so special. There's all these nice wearable pieces. There's great denim if that's what you're looking for. Great denim jackets, great pants. Fits are modern but classic.
Yes, roomier.
There's great sweatshirts with interesting dyes, and that's like an easy, approachable way to get into some things and really experiment and see kind of in a perfect world what Kakashibu, persimmon, indigo, coffee, all sorts of interesting dyes. So that's a real approachable way to get it. It's kind of like fashion and art is done at its best. It's doing this thing where it's kind of this weird amalgamation of something bigger. So I think that's what makes Cottle so special. I think the attention to detail, the experimentation, the interesting ways things are being put together is really what justifies the prices. We'll get into it more as we start to see it on body, and we'll point out some of these things, but
both silhouette and how it's going to drape, and you can see there's a Kakashibu piece, you can see like the uneven dyes and how like real Kakashibu, how it lays like that, and how that's stiff right out of the gate, and then obviously we'll stop with wear, things like that. Also, I wanted to say within Cottle, there are so many different ways that they approach it. So there's Earth Wall, which is going to be a certain type of textile and dye technique. Life Botanical, which is the hoodies we have now. And they have a really good write-up on their website as well. We should link that as well for anybody curious. It's a really, really detailed dissertation.
It's almost as if like category is sort of named as this different experiment, whether it's with fabric and then using that fabric to create a bunch of different kinds of things inside of that fabric, or a specific type of dyeing that they're using. Like in the Life Botanical, it's predominantly botanical dyes or natural dyes, as you might imagine. We always carry a little bit from as many of these kind of experiments as we can. They create a lot of stuff and they create a lot of stuff fast. So it's good to check out both so you can see what's going on.
And if story matters to you, the story of the product being made, I really truly think Cottle is at the absolute pinnacle of that. Nothing is spared, and they're happy to share it with you.
The one thing about Cottle, we'll do the best we can, but it's really a brand when you see it in person that it really speaks for itself, I think. So we'll do the best we can to show it off and point out things that maybe you only notice in person, but all right. Let's get into some looks and stuff, Get
on in here, Alec.
All right.
So right off the rip, I wanted to start with like let me put my coffee down.
Take a big sip.
I wanted to start with something probably like the most approachable for the every guy, right? This is just a regular washed pair of jeans and then a moleskin town jacket up top. So right off the rip with Cottle, everything they do with the CTL, it's like their Cottle, it's like their uniform for denim in particular. We've got them in this dark wash and then the light wash, which is coming in a future outfit. But these are about as standard as it gets. I think their wash is very, very, very genuine. I kind of like the low contrast with the wash in particular. You know, sometimes if you're gonna recreate like a pair of like raw jeans, you get the really contrasty whiskers and stuff, which can look a little funky if maybe they weren't actually raw to begin with, because kind of the whiskers fall in different places. This way it kind of splits the difference. This is flattering on Al. And the wash is nondescript in like the best way. You know, it's not so insane that you're thinking like, damn, what a crazy ass pair of wash jeans.
And I think like the details like we talked about earlier that are going to be hard to see, it's like, well, it's a great wash, great fit, feels very much like old 501s, you know, just done up really well. The ones you never find in vintage stores. But when I'm standing up close to them, the thing I can immediately notice that this goes from being some kind of like cool denim to something different is just how uniquely neppy they are. You really can see it in person. It doesn't feel overdone. This doesn't feel like a bit or something. It's just natural, but there's a lot of slubbiness happening all across the jeans, and you can really see the weave up close, which is what happens in old jeans like this. You see the weave after a little while because it gets a little more threadbare. You start to see the weave more. So you really see that right away with these, which is really cool. I mean, it really takes them and takes it from like a decent denim to me looking at it with quick eyes and being like, oh my God, that's like a really nice pair.
Yeah. Awesome. And then we have this moleskin town jacket up top in the authentic indigo. We've got it both in the authentic indigo and in the Sumi ink, which is kind of like a dark charcoal, washed out charcoal look.
Again, the commitment to like the detail on this is really astounding in that normally when you find the vintage ones, number one, they fit horribly. That's just the reality. This is a great fit where it still feels like it's touching on some of that old, you know, vintage stuff, like the way the collar's laying really flat. There's that big space between here, the way that the sleeve kind of comes off the shoulder just a little bit. All those feel very in line with all the vintage ones I've ever seen. It's just pulled back a little bit, so it's a bit more wearable. That what I love is like the buttons. These are the ones you find on the original. That weird sort of, I don't know what the right word, but like almost iridescence that you see in them.
Sure, like pearly-ish.
Yep, those are the ones you find on the originals. I've had a number of originals. We used to buy them kind of for the store and stuff through people, and this is what they look like. But they finished it. It's nice. There's bar tacking, a lot of finishing. I love that they kept the contrast stitching.
I was gonna say that's the standout for me. I love the contrast stitching, and also I'll do a spin and let me get out of the way of the sunlight. You can really see like the uneven nature of the indigo dye itself, and that's something that's gonna ring true through every single piece that Cottle has. It leans into that organic nature.
That's what I was gonna say is the thing that's different about this one, just like the jeans, that when you see it up close and you see how much pretty unevenness is happening, that doesn't happen by mistake. It's incredibly hard to do to make it look natural in the right places without being overdone. You see a lot of places try to varying levels of, you know, success, but this is about the nicest I've seen that done and how considered it is. The nice thing also is that everything with Cottle to me feels pretty like stiff right away when you get it. But stiff in the same way that after you wash a pair of jeans, they're stiff for a minute, and then you wear them for an hour, and suddenly they're like, they're yours. You know what I mean? So it's still gonna like allow it to kind of become yours as you wear and move it around, and then it'll continue to age beyond that. So it's just kind of a really good start, and I don't really think anybody else is doing it kind of at the same level right now.
Completely agree. Yeah.
As we were saying, the uneven dye is like a very, very beautiful feature. You know, natural indigo. The buttons are pretty beautifully looking. It's like a pearly iridescence, as Timothy was saying. And you got stitching, a little added feature, really comfortable coat. For the people's reference, this is a size 3. I'm 5'9". I'll say I'm 5'10" if you're asking, if anybody important's asking, but 5'9". 5'9", size 3.
And it fits great. It fits exactly where you'd want everything to be fitting. What about the jeans? Are those a 3 as well?
These are size 3. Yeah.
Great.
Standard fair jeans, you know. Very nappy. You know, the dye comes out very beautifully at the knees. It's very natural looking. It's great.
And unless I'm mistaken, Timbo, this is real gold that they drip on here. They melt on and drip it on the button. It's just a little touch of detail.
From what I know of that too, that's usually for like, they do that for making the things you put when you go fishing. Lures or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like it's very similar to like that same, like sort of catch the light in interesting ways, which is really cool.
Oh, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
This is also all proprietary. The way this is woven, it's an old Belgium loom they use, which is really cool. So that's what kind of gives a lot of things that they're working on, that like natural slubbiness and, you know, kind of that off-kilter look to the fabric itself. Yeah. Really cool.
Love it. All right, cool. Let's pop on to the next one.
Chase did some real hard work here by dressing him identical to the way he dresses every day.
This is an outfit that I would wear. In fact, I've done this exact thing, except the jacket is not a light wash one, it's just the one wash. So right off the rip, this is like the little more advanced version of the previous one. We still got a whole lot of indigo going on, a lot of denim. So let's start from the bottom.
Oh, there's your nice hit of gold if you were looking
exactly,
for it.
Yeah. On the bottom, it is the CTL denim. It is the black vein dye. So this would wear to like a dark indigo, black, gray kind of situation.
Whatever you see underneath is what's gonna come forward. So oftentimes when you look underneath here, you're gonna see a lighter color. That's what's coming forward as things wash. So that's what you're gonna see come forward. In the leaf vein thing, you're gonna see that unevenness also come to the top as the wear happens, which is really
and then
cool.
Obviously whatever you wash to will kind of accelerate that process and also soften it up. So they have almost like a coating to the outside of it feeling, but it's just the remnants from the dye that will wash out and soften over time and also contribute to the patina itself. Moving on, we have the CTL Neo Type 2 denim jacket. So obviously we have the Type 2, we have the 2 pockets here in the front with the pleating. It's a little bit more of a modern fit where a proper true repro Type 2 would be fall right at the hips, pretty cropped.
And the thing that I'd also like to point out, again with the details here, this work here that they're doing on the shanks is not only creating like an original design, which is cool, but then roughing it the hell out so it feels like it's gone through the ringer a little bit. With like painting underneath, which was common in like old military stuff or like enameling usually. It really makes a difference when you see it in person.
Yeah, like that top finish wears off.
Yeah, when I'm seeing somebody in clothes and I'm doing my predator vision of trying to figure out what it is and stuff, that would be something I clock immediately as like, wow, that's an amazing detail. You know what I mean? This is something special. And I think the other thing is, right under here, this work that they're doing on the finishing here could be done by a simple serger. It would be way cheaper, way faster, but this is really cool way to finish this. And it's finished all the way down, almost like salvage. There's a stitch that runs along the edge.
Kind of
and then, for whatever reason after that, they're also antiquing the brass on the back side of the shank. I mean, these are all just like steps that like don't matter, but don't they? You know what I mean? Like when you think about like, especially when you own the garment, this is your piece, these are things only you're gonna see maybe. It's either you're gonna make a head go crazy or for yourself, you're gonna go, what a cool thing to like care this much about. I mean, especially with the denim jacket, which you buy it, you're probably gonna wear it for a very long time, or that would be the goal in my mind, to have this as a lifetime piece. Stuff like this just doesn't exist in other things. You know what I mean? You're not gonna find all this craziness that's happening in everything that they're working on.
Nope. Agreed. Lastly, on top, we got Cottle for the first time, what, Timothy, 2018, 2019, certainly pre-COVID. We had this piece, the Champeter. We have the authentic indigo here. As you noted at our intro, the fabric is obviously what's going on here. Incredibly irregular and neppy, but also slubby, but also uneven because of the dye itself. And then obviously roomy enough to kind of go over whatever else. So think of it like a coverall or a chore coat.
When you see it up close, there's a lot of like unevenness to the dye. There's darker parts, there's lighter parts. There's this like horizontal running stitch that happens, not stitch, but like in the weave. That's really pretty. Happens all throughout. What it feels like to me is almost like a room rug. The way it's woven and the density of it, it's gonna absorb indigo like nothing else. So you get that really deep color indigo, but it's also got the unevenness like we talked about. So it really like shines when you see it up close in the light.
Leather backing on the buttons. And then I was gonna point out, obviously here on the bottom, it's got that frayed edge. I do wanna say it is finished though. They're running a stitch through it. So it's not gonna fray all the way up the garment. It is finished and that is where it would fray too. But they also have that on the interior details. Like you said, this Cottle is, it's for you. It should be for you first and foremost. You're gonna feel good putting this stuff on if the story matters to you, which like it does to me personally. So this really rules. And then last but not least, we have the waffle beanie up top. It's the silk noel, so I believe it's a blend of silk and cotton, unless I'm mistaken. And then this is the Sumi ink.
The actual little squares that you see that make up the textile are all very irregular, like some are a little bit larger than others. It lays almost like a sweater. It's gonna get prettier and prettier as you wear it, which is really cool. So like you can kind of have what you get in jeans, or I mean in this case, everything he's got on, the hat will also wear and become different as you go through different stages with it, which is cool.
Yeah, so overall, this is a great example of Cottle. We have 2 more to follow this, and I'm super excited. And I will attest to this. I don't often do this on YouTube's videos and shit, but to say like, I do own this and I've worn it a ton, and it really does show wear beautifully around the elbows and around the sleeves and areas that you're gonna, rub up against quite a bit. So really cool. What do we think, Al?
This is Chase's like advanced alchemy type of outfit. I've seen him wear this coat a couple of times, and then I'm always asking him for this thing. Beautiful, beautiful coat. The pants are gonna wash super nicely. I'm a huge fan of black jeans, and this would only just evolve with you and Aiden.
All right, great. Let's throw him in the next outfit. All right, here comes our boy. Whoa. All right, this is about as Canoe Club as you can get. First, I'm gonna shout out, these are not Cottle. We had already used the new pair of pants, both pairs of pants for all these fits, so I wanted to kind of slate in something new. It's Orslov. It's the real used, washed, really drapey, washed out. So I just wanted to shout that out. Those are not Cottle, but they also bang and they're nice. Underneath, we have the Coke Red Life Botanical Dye hoodie. This treatment of red is absolutely beautiful. We've had it a few times in the past. Nice and soft, where some of those dyes do kind of dry crisp, similar to like we were talking about with the black vein denim or what have you. This one's incredibly soft. And then up top, this is a new item. We've never had this before. Deer Denim Traveling Coverall. So it has this like wide wale, super kind of organic, uneven corduroy collar. And then the rest of the denim is like a really, really nice washed out, similar treatment to the dark or light washed Bangara jeans we've come in.
The haziness of the dye, where you get that sort of beige or cream color coming out from underneath, is really something I've only ever seen naturally happen in like old Wrangler Bluebells and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I really think that like what they achieved here is pretty tough to do. You really see it in person. I mean, you can obviously see it in the screen that there's a lot of highs and lows, but the gradients that all the dyes are happening, including on this, I can see it from where I'm standing. It comes to almost here as a gradient that's happening naturally line by line. It's really special. I mean, we see a lot of different used, distressed hoodies, things that people doing different things at a very high level. This is different. There's more going on with this. That even all the roping that's happening around the hood.
Yeah, dude.
There's been a lot of care and attention to detail to get it to do exactly what it's doing. So I think that's a really special piece. If you're looking to splash out on a hoodie, I would highly recommend Cottle. And then you get all the same great like cool details like we talked about with the button shanks and everything. And obviously you pointed out how pretty that wide wale uneven corduroy is.
Yeah. And it's super soft. So sometimes you get a corduroy collar and it kind of sits stiff. It's soft. It's very synonymous with the rest of the jacket. I also wanted to call out this like runoff stitch that they've left here on this pocket here. Just a little detail that if you
reminds me
notice
of old vintage work shirts,
like
or
where you would
it's
typically get them here in the hem.
I also thought it was cool that because there's an interior pocket here, that of course they use the wash denim on, which I think is cool. When you close that back up, you actually get the little rivet behind here too, which I think they've done a smart job in concealing, but it's also kind of a cool detail to see.
Awesome.
Yeah, I really think the fit turned out nicely here. Obviously, in this version of things too, you get even more of that really cool surging thing that's happening there. Pound for pound, this might be one of the better coveralls we've ever had, or at least one of the most interesting ones we've ever had. I think it really drapes well, looks beautiful. I love all the distressing that's happening on the cuff. It doesn't feel like there's distressing in stupid places either, like sometimes. Like even like you're getting just a little nick up here or something from the movement you would have from lifting up and down your arm. It's really smart stuff. You know, this is the reason why we wanted to be able to talk this stuff through, is because of how interesting all this is. I even love that they use the curve here as opposed to the thing. So what they're doing is they sew on the outside, then they turn it inside out, stitch it to here, bar tack it to here, and if that wasn't enough, then they also ran a stitch here so that if anything happens or pulls, it's gonna stop it from going any further.
Corduroy sleeves, something that we didn't brush up on, but you can cuff it and it'll match the collar, just kind of like any other coverall, but it's Cottle, you know, so it's fantastic. As far as the hoodie goes, it's one thing to have a perfectly cut hoodie. It's another thing to have it perfectly dyed, and Cottle was able to accomplish both. Again, if you were gonna splash out on a hoodie, this would be the one to do. I have a black one in the other room. It is my favorite hoodie, best of all time.
Cool.
Beautiful. Love it. All right, come on in now. How we doing, baby? This is my personal favorite colorway of this sunset pile jacket. I like the blue and the brown. It's a combo you don't really see all that much in like the same garment, you know? You can mix blues and browns, but I think this is really cool. You also get this like bright hit of indigo, so. Anyway, this is the standout for this. Again, it's sort of like a pared down, super wearable version. You know, we saw some things with Cottle where you can kind of layer it and it can be a little more of a choice, I suppose. Or you can play it down and everybody knows how to wear a fleece jacket and a nice washed pair of jeans. So as mentioned, it is the CTL denim again, this time in the light wash. Previously, we saw the dark wash. Same exact situation, like Timothy pointed out. We have a lot of net going on with this fabric. It's just further washed than the previous one, if you can imagine that. And then up top, the sunset pile.
This is yak wool.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. Nice thing about yak wool, obviously super weather resistant and tough while being pretty soft overall. So tougher and a little harder than like Patagonia fleece or something.
Yeah, or if like we have those Nanamika ones in stock, the Nanamika ones are really stretchy, really warm.
But let's keep in mind, this is not synthetic. which is a big difference. So this is a natural version of that thing. And something really high pile like that is gonna absorb dye at a crazy rate, which is cool. But what you really see when you're up close to it is the lower tier pile is darker, topper tier is like lighter. So you get this like pretty, like, I don't know, it looks like a dew on grass.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Which I think is cool. Then they're finishing all of these pieces, all these little intricate pockets, which you know, when you put it together, you get that whole sunset look.
Yeah, awesome.
But they're doing that out of, like, I believe Kakashibu. These pieces and all these little finishings that are happening all throughout. I love it. I love the one at the bottom too, because that's often where you'll find fraying, or these piping details will pull away because it's a tight stitch, but it'll pull away over time. So they've sort of fixed that. And again, these are things that no one needs to do, but it makes a huge difference to the overall, like, wear and how long it'll last. I love that it's a two-piece construction. So that means if you look to the side, if you can turn to the side out, this goes straight from the shoulder all the way down. So it's just a two-piece construction, which really makes it have that, like, very comfortable kind of like sit on top of you fit that really is nice for something like this, or for layering. Tee-back on the back, so it keeps it, breaks it up a little bit here. So again, it just lays really comfortably, whether you're layering or whatever you're doing. I also really like that all the pulls are hand braided. So you can, again, I don't know if we'll see it up close, but these are all hand braided, like by hand, and then put on here. Sick. And they're, you know, again, they're dyed with Kakashibu and indigo. These are insane things for anyone to do, quite frankly. But I think that is why this brand is so special and why we really wanted to talk about it, because I just don't think this stuff, when it's in like product copy, you just don't think of it. I just want people to understand like how the levels to what's going on. It's a really special piece that's going to age really well. Everything that we've looked at is like you could transfer something out of your closet and go, this is my investment, but this is going to be the most special thing I could really
I'm going to be so excited every time I put it on. You know?
And I think you'll keep finding more and more things as you wear it. And then I don't remember what the name of this one is, but
so it's the mohair sparkle bean, I believe. There's some nice cool repairs here on the top. So a lot of little repairs. You kind of see this like blue ribbon type material here, and there was something at the top of the crown as well.
Again, it's doing the same thing that this is doing, where the mohair kind of creates this like layer over underneath the actual knit, and the knit when you're up close looks like it's like, I'm spotting like 3 or 4 colors minimum. I would say. So you're also seeing there's all this depth of color happening in the hat, which I think is really unique and makes it really special, along with obviously the repairs and everything.
What do we think, Al?
I love the fleece. You know, it's just, the colorways are fantastic. The stacking with the colors is also super cool. It's kind of like a ruffled sleeve going on here with the cuffing and stuff like that. But it just adds up to an amazing piece. You know, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's really pretty.
Yeah, and for something that's this like, you know, if you think about like a yak sweater or something, sometimes those need to like break in and kind of mold to you a little bit. This really looks beautiful on body, I think, because of that two-piece construction right away. Cool.
All right, so that is that. That is a talk through of Cottle for Fall Winter 25. Some stuff you've seen before, obviously some new pieces as well. Like I said, internally, we really, 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 truly love Cottle. As Timothy said, it walks the walk that a lot of brands talk.
I'm excited that we've had a chance, because I think that in the past, things have come in and sold out so quickly, we haven't had really a chance to do this. So we actually set aside time that like as soon as this came out of the box, we put it here and we showed it to you. So we get a chance to talk all this special stuff through. So I think it's really cool to be able to communicate that. Obviously, if you guys have questions, ask them. Again, I would strongly encourage someone to go over to the link in bio and read what our friend
Jeff wrote.
So it's a really special, like, you know, intimate look into what they do, and they've got some great information on their website as well. We've scratched the surface, hopefully like got you interested. This goes even further somehow, so I'd strongly encourage you to check that out too.
Endless reading. So per usual, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to be in touch. Please do be in touch. Suggestions for other brands, things we did in this video you like, or other things that maybe we missed on, however we can serve you better. That's kind of what I'm getting at. So thank you for being here. And we'll talk to you soon.